What is up? What is up, YouTubers? Welcome back to another episode of 8-Bit and More. It's been a long time since I've talked to you guys. I've been through a move. We've gone through a pandemic. I've been real busy with work, but I am back and I'm shooting new material, and I hope you guys are excited for that. I know I'm excited. I really want to get back into the Atari and talking about programming, assembly language, basic, all that good stuff that we were working on before. Our player missile graphics tutorials, display lists, and all the advanced topics that we need to finish talking about on the Atari. And today I wanted to get back into FujiNet because there have been a lot of developments since the first video I made with FujiNet. And this is actually the one of the prototypes that I received a while back from Moswald, one of the hardware developer for the FujiNet project. The main hardware developer for the FujiNet project. So this was one of the beta prototypes that I got right before they went for production run. And if you guys don't know what FujiNet is, if you're just tuning into this channel and you don't have any knowledge about this product, this is a wireless modem. It's a wireless networking device for the Atari 8-bit line of computers. I'll provide a link in the description where you can actually purchase your own. These are now being ramped up in production. They're very cost effective. And the nice thing about FujiNet is really it's the only device you need for your Atari to get you on the internet, to allow you to use TCP/IP, to allow you to get access to the end device, which is a networking drive, which is now available for your Atari. And what does that mean exactly? Well, with the end device, plain and simple, you can connect to shares out on the internet or on a local server that hosts all of your Atari software. So you can mount a share from a TNFS server or an FTP server for that matter, and you can access read and write on that server. You can read and write files, you can save files, you can mount disks remotely. So it's really the one-stop shop device for your Atari that brings it into the 2020s, if you will. Tom Cherryhomes is the lead developer for the FujiNet project, and I've worked with Tom as the firmware was being developed in its early stages, and he's a great guy. He's a brilliant guy. He probably knows more about the Atari computer than anyone that I've ever met or talked to. And his YouTube channel, I'm going to link it below. I want you to go see some of the videos he's created where he gets in depth with FujiNet and really shows off its capabilities and some of its functions. And what I'm going to try and do with my channel is give you a bird's eye view of the device, more of a layman's terms, not too technical, but more focused on how do we use this to have fun with the Atari. That's what I'm focused on. We may get into some of the technical stuff at some point, but I really just want everyone who comes across my channel and who is interested in the Atari computers, I want you to get one of these FujiNet devices and start using it. There's also an SD card slot on the side of the FujiNet device, and that SD card slot allows you to pretty much use this like a drive. And if you never go any point beyond using it as a drive, you're winning. Because you can read and write to this drive, you can store hundreds and hundreds, pretty much almost every Atari program ever created on this S drive, and have everything in one device. You can carry this around with you to your trade shows and to your friend's house, and you can share files back and forth. I mean, it really replaces all the other devices that were ever developed for the Atari, the S drive, the S drive Max, and some of the other devices, because you can do everything with it. It has an SIO port, a plug that plugs into the SIO port of your Atari computer, and there's a pass-through where you can continue daisy chaining the SIO devices, after that, printers and disk drives if you're still using the physical hardware. But it's really a cool device. What's nice about this too is you can mount, or you basically have the ability to create or mount 8 virtual disk drives, D1 through D8 as we know them on the Atari. So for example, I could have D1, I could have a DOS disk mounted virtually and boot the FujiNet and come into DOS. I can mount a multi-disc game, if you will, games that came with multiple disc sets on say D1, D2, D3, and D4, and the computer will use those drives accordingly because they are pretty much disk drives that are available at that point in time to the Atari. You know, once you boot this, once you configure this FujiNet and you have multiple ways of booting the FujiNet, you can boot it, mount it into any program you want on drive 1. And we'll get into that. We'll get into actually using that. So without further ado, let's go through some of the basics. Let me show you how to connect this to the Atari. Let me show you how to configure it, and let me show you how to mount disks virtually on this and boot the computer. So here we go. Good to be back, by the way. And by the way, if you're just coming across my channel, hit the like button on the video. Hit the subscribe button so we can get more people involved. We can activate the Google search engine and attract more viewers so that we can grow the channel and get everybody interested in the Atari computer. Stick around. All right, guys, we've got our FujiNet plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn the Atari computer on. So as you can see, the FujiNet picks up the boot and loads its configuration program upon powering on the computer. Now, your FujiNet is going to come unconfigured when you purchase it, but I'm going to show you what the first thing that will happen when you get your FujiNet and you plug it in. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to scan your wireless networks, and it's going to show the available SSIDs that it sees or that it can see. And you're going to pick your wireless network. So for example, mine is the second one. You're going to press enter, and then you're going to put in your password to access your wireless network. And once you do that, it's going to try and connect to that network. And then once you're connected, it's going to bring you to this main configuration screen, which shows you at the top 8 host slots, and at the bottom, 8 drive slots. Now I'm going to clear these bottom slots out so they're empty. So now we've got 8 empty drives. And at the top here, I've got 8 slots for hosts. Now, think of hosts as either hosts local on your network, hosts that are on the internet, or an SD drive. Those are your 2 primary locations that you're going to get files from, or disks, to be able to use your Atari. One is going to be by IP, the other one is going to be local on the SD storage. So in any one of these slots, I can edit them by going to that slot and pressing the E key, and then I can come in here and I can change this. So anytime you have the word SD on a slot, okay, that's going to read from the local SD card. And you can see here as I pressed enter on that SD slot, I can see the contents or the directory of my SD card. I could easily go back and set drive slot 8 as the SD card if I wanted to. Press enter and I can get the same effect. I see the files that are located on the SD card. And you can see here that the FujiNet supports folders. So for example, we've got a Atari DOS folder. If I press enter on that, I can go down one level further and see the different types of Atari DOSes that I have in that folder. If you hit the delete key, it will actually go up a directory. There we go. Hit the delete key, we go to the root directory. We can go down to the demos folder, press enter. Hit the delete key to go up a directory. Hit escape to get back to the main menu. And for example, so let's say that I wanted to mount something on drive 1 and boot the computer into a particular version of DOS, for example. Very easily. Go into the SD card, open up the Atari DOS folder, select Atari DOS 2.5, and pick the actual drive, virtual drive that I want to mount that DOS into. So for this example, I'm going to choose one, press enter. And at the bottom, I can make it read-only or read write. In this case, we're going to do read only. We're not going to be writing anything to that disk. All right, so I'm going to choose my Atari DOS, and there we go. So now we've got Atari DOS 2.5 on the first drive. So let's hit escape to get back to the main menu, and you can see down here now, I hit the tab key, I've got 8 virtual drives, and my first virtual drive is set for Atari DOS. So let's just go ahead and boot into Atari DOS. Now the way you do that is you can see at the bottom of the screen you've got some options. One of the options says option to boot. So right here we're going to choose the option key on the Atari keyboard, and it's going to boot the computer. But instead of going to the FujiNet config program, it's going to boot drive 1, which is Atari DOS 2.5. Pretty cool. So now we're using our virtual drive 1. We can go to DOS. We can get a directory of drive 1 as if we had a physical disk drive connected, and there we go. So that shows you how to mount a virtual drive and boot the computer into it. So now we could go in and we could use this drive as if it were any, floppy disk or virtual drive for the Atari computer. So now you may be asking yourself, okay, how do I get back to the FujiNet? Well, let's turn the computer off and on and see what happens. The FujiNet is smart enough to know, persistent-wise, that drive 1 is a DOS disk. So we can turn the computer off and on, we can reset it multiple times, and it's going to behave as if that D1 is a DOS disk. The way we get back to the FujiNet configuration program and change our parameters is on the FujiNet device, there are 3 buttons on the top. The button all the way to the right represents the reset button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press that button now. That's going to reset the FujiNet device. So now when I power on and off, the FujiNet is going to go back into its configuration screen. Okay, so just keep in mind the button all the way to the right on the top of the FujiNet is the reset button for the FujiNet, and that will always reset it back to the configuration program so that you can go back in there and make changes to your drives, what's mounted on the drives, and any configuration parameters you need to set that way. So now here we are back to our configuration program. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we connect to a host that is hosting files on the internet. So for example, FujiNet Online is a host that I have set up here that's hosted by one of the developers on the FujiNet project. So let's go ahead and press enter on that. And what you can see here is this directory listing came live over the internet, over TCP/IP from that host, and I can see the actual files here on my Atari. This is real live networking on your Atari happening, right in front of your face, guys. So for example, let's go into the games directory, and we can see we've got multiple games here that we can choose from, okay? So for example, Jumpman, let's choose that, and let's mount that on our first virtual disk drive. So just press enter and read only, and that's now going to be the disk that we have mounted on drive 1. So you can see down here at the bottom, drive slot number 1 is now Jumpman. So let's go ahead and press option. Let's boot the Atari computer. And with all good luck, we're booting now into Jumpman. So you can see how quick that quickly I was able to go back into my configuration, change the virtual drive 1, which by the way, that image is being loaded remotely over the internet from that host in another state. And if we reboot the computer, it will persistently remember that we have Jumpman loaded on drive 1, and it's going to go ahead and boot that again. And you can see here it says, please remove all cartridges because I didn't hold down the option key. So let's reboot again, hold the option key. Just like it's supposed to op. And keep in mind, this is all happening live on the internet. This program is coming remotely from that remote host. It's not being loaded locally. So now I'm going to hit the reset button on my firmware, and I'm going to reboot the Atari computer, and it should take us back to our configuration program. Now for me, guys, I used the SD card for most of what I need to do. I've got everything I need stored here. I've got Atari DOSes, I've got programs from OSSI, I've got my games, I've got my versions of Sparta-DOS here. So, I mean, everything I need here is on the SD drive. And I highly recommend that you populate your SD drive with all the programs you're going to need. For example, here's a disk image that contains a ton of games for the Atari. Let's go ahead and mount that on drive 1. Let's boot the computer. And you'll see that, I mean, there's pretty much every major game that you could ever ask for right here on this image. And it's all sorted alphabetically. Here's Mega Mania, one of the real popular games for the Atari back in the time. And look how fast that was. That game loaded almost instantaneously. Again, coming from the SD drive. Let's reboot. Let's pick another game. Galaxian. Look how fast that was. Now some games that have the reset vector trapped, when you hit reset, it may or may not go back to the game. Let me see if I can find a game that actually does that. Let's do Arkon II. You can hear that high-speed SIO. So here's Arkon. If I hit reset on Arkon, it goes right back to itself. So in this case, we'll have to hit the reset button on the actual FujiNet to reboot the computer. So I'm going to hit the reset button, reset, and we'll be booting back into our FujiNet configuration program. All right. All right, guys, so we are back here, and we're going to do something a little bit different, change gears. We're actually going to get more into a programming setup where we can actually use the FujiNet device for our programming needs. So what I'm going to do is I've got my drive slots empty. I've got no drive images mounted. And I'm going to go up to my SD drive here, and I'm going to go into Sparta-DOS, and I'm going to mount Sparta-DOS 3.2 disk image on my first drive. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my basic programming disk. Now this is a disk image that I use for storing my basic programs. We're going to mount that on drive 2. And actually, let me do that again because I actually want that to be read-write so I can actually save my programs. And this is where you got to make the decision whether or not you want to be able to read-write to the disk. So for example, my basic, I'm going to mount to 2, and I'm going to hit W for read-write. If you see at the bottom of the screen, the return key defaults to read-only. If you hit W, it mounts that drive image, that disk image, as read and write. And that's obviously what we want. So now we've got Sparta-DOS and disk 1, and we've got our basic program, our basic programming disk on drive 2. So let's go ahead and hit the Option key and boot the computer. And what's going to happen is we're booting into Sparta-DOS 3.2. So we can use it just as if we were using a Sparta-DOS cartridge or what have you. We can get the directory here. And there's the actual drive, D1. Let's switch to drive 2. Get a directory. And you can see I've got a bunch of the basic programs we had used in our prior tutorials. So for example, let's go ahead and go into basic and load a program up that I wrote last Halloween actually, before this Halloween. This was back in 2019, which was a demo for Halloween. So we're going to do enter D2 Hween 9 basic. And this is coming right off the SD drive of the FujiNet device. All right, so let's go ahead and list our program. And there we go. It's a pretty lengthy little basic program, and we'll probably go into this program at some point. I've never really gone through this program line by line and described to you how it worked. But let's go ahead and let me make sure this program is reading the images that it uses from the correct drive letter so we can actually run the demonstration and see if it works. So somewhere down in here, okay, it is set for D2. So let's go ahead and run this program. Now this program is a little slow in loading the graphics images, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit so that we can actually see the program run till it's in. Alright, so we're almost done loading here. There's actually a couple background images that it needs to load in order to make the demo effect when it's actually running. And there we go, the demo is running. It's a pretty cool demo, but more importantly, I just wanted you to see that this actually loads off the SD card from the FujiNet and executes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here just to show that this actually can save and make changes. We're going to go in here and just change this remark, and we're going to actually add an asterisk right here. And that's just to prove that when we save this, let's go ahead and call this 10. Make sure we go to drive 2. And you can hear that high-speed SIO sound. All right. So now what we're going to do is let's turn the Atari computer off. Let's start fresh. Let's boot it up. Going to boot into Sparta-DOS. Let's go ahead and enter the program that we just saved. And what did I, oops, drive 2. So as you can see, the persistence of the mounted drives remains the same, even when you turn the computer off and on. And there we go. You can see the change we made right there and the file loaded, and everything's good to go. So what this means, guys, is that you can use your FujiNet for programming, and that's what we're going to be doing as we continue our tutorials in our attempt to learn Atari Basic to its max assembly language using the assembly language compiler and also using assembly language in BASIC. So anyway, I hope this video kicks us off in the right direction. I wanted you guys to see the FujiNet and what it can be used for, and as you can see, it really is the all-in-one solution that we can use to use the Atari computer, load and save our programs, play our games, connect to the internet, and there's much more that I'm going to show you about the FujiNet as I continue to make these videos. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like, and we'll see you in the next video.